SCB Global is more than just a collaboration company. We are connecting businesses around the world with one conversation at a time. Welcome to the Team Me Up podcast.
Hello and welcome to SCB Global Team Me Up podcast. This is your host, Nabil Mahmood. Today, we have an exciting episode lined up with three distinguished guests who are leaders in their respective fields. And I've not done three guests on my show yet, so bear with me. This should be a lot of fun. Today's charter is to explore innovative strategies, industry insights, and the future of technology. Let's get started. So the first guest we've got is Sarah Westberg. Sarah is the IT manager in Milton Cat. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Then we've got Alex Davis, who's with A365, and he is the account executive there. Alex, welcome to the show.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Brilliant. Last but not least, we've got JP Salopek. JP is the channel account manager at SCB. Well, we finally did it, JP. We've got you on the show, so welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to cover a range of topics from digital transformation and technological innovation, and the challenges and opportunities that present with making those migrations move. So before we get into this whole digital transformation, let's get to hear a little bit about the three of you. What do you do? And maybe a little bit about your background. So Sarah, let's start with you. Could you tell our audience your position with Milton Cat and how long have you been in the sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been with Milton Cat. I'm the IT manager. Been with the company about 18 and a half years. Started my career really in technology. I was pulling cables. I was wiring circuit boards very, very early on in my career, all the way up through software installations. Fast forward, coming into Milton Cat, I was a business analyst and project manager, helping with major corporate initiatives. Today, fast forward 18 and a half years later, I handle all project management, ERP, implementation, network infrastructure, technical services, and support. So any major technology initiative in the organization really falls under me.
Brilliant. Well, that's really exciting. So you are actually one of those unicorns in the space that has had the opportunity of touching a lot of different pieces in this constantly evolving world.
Absolutely.
All right, Alex. So you are one of our valued partners at A365. Could you share at a high level your background and experience?
Yeah, so I've been in the unified communication space for probably just over 5 years now. So was doing, back when Skype for Business was the collaboration tool, I was supporting organization using that as their phone system. And then obviously the evolution of Microsoft Teams, that being their phone system, helped a lot of customers migrate from Skype to Teams as their phone system. And then excited to be a part of Anywhere 365. I've been here for about 2 years and, focused heavily on unified communications around Microsoft Teams. But that gap that a lot of customers experience with Microsoft Teams is that it doesn't have context sharing functionality with its phone system. So filling that gap and still focused around that Microsoft ecosystem. Sorry.
Brilliant. All right, JP.
Background?
Background.
Perfect. So my background is, I think with everybody else on the call, jack of all trades. So I started off in accounting and I worked at Chase for a few years. And then from there, I made a transition over to technology because I see that's where the space is going. So I worked at AT&T for a few years, working with business folks, laying fiber and selling that fiber, and then came to SCB, where, Alex was just talking about how Teams has really become part of everybody's ecosystem. Maybe the pandemic helped escalate that. But really our whole story here at SCB is to be that extension of Microsoft, because there are some gaps that come with just having Microsoft Teams by itself. And so our whole story here at SCB is to fill in those gaps to enhance your existing investment in Microsoft so that there's not disparate communication silos within your organization. Everything stays with one single pane of glass. Everything is your data. You can manage it the way that you want it to. And there's just seamless efficiency all the way through. So it's not only a better experience for users, but also because it's a better experience for users, it makes it a better experience for customers that are calling in, which applies to Milton Cat here. So,
well, that's a great segue. So we're going to, move over to Sarah now. So Sarah, Milton Cat has gone, significant transformation over the years. I mean, there's been a significant shift in platforms and strategies and trying to unify all of it. I mean, the level of complexity, especially for areas that you guys cover and support, such as data center and mission critical, life support and whatnot. Having said that, you and I had a brief conversation the other day, and you had mentioned that there has been a strategy to unify platforms, right, and get it under one environment. So, could you share what that digital transformation strategy has been? What were the driving factors, and how did this whole experience come about for you?
Yeah, so I would say our digital transformation strategy really began, I would say back in 2011, when we were on an ERP platform, was an old green screen AS400, and we realized we really couldn't take the organization forward with something that was limiting us. So our transition and our transformation actually began with our ERP journey back in 2011, when we went out and searched for something. And what we did was we found that Microsoft's ecosystem really was where we wanted to be. So our journey was first with a Microsoft Dynamics ERP. Fast forward 10 years later, we're still on that platform, but now we've even continued to evolve. We are in the CE space. We are in the Teams space. We're in SharePoint. We have leveraged what I would say is pretty much anything and everything that Microsoft can deliver, from end users using M365, ERP, CE, Teams Phone, you name it, we've got it, including the security stack. So we've invested in seeing that Microsoft's ecosystem is a strategic partner that really aligns with our values to continue taking our organization forward so that we're delivering better customer experiences across the board.
So back in the day, 2011, that's sort of like a time when a lot of companies were moving from AS400, the green screens, PeopleSoft is going away, to more likely EBS or Oracle platforms, or Infor and Siebel, Siebel was still there, yeah. Or SAP. And Microsoft was not necessarily in that space at that point in time. How did you guys end up picking Microsoft as your core platform of choice?
So we actually had one other Caterpillar dealer that we're very much in contact with that actually chose the Microsoft ERP platform first. So we went down, we sort of spoke to them, went out to Microsoft, talked to them to see, where is the platform headed? Because you're right. I think early on, to be fair, maybe it wasn't as predominant as the Oracles and SAPs of the world. However, we saw the vision, we saw the strategy, and that ecosystem is really what got our attention, because there is much more capability for integrations, whether that's through APIs, whatever the case may be. Fast forward into Azure today, we see that as a strategic partner. So that's why we chose them. And we were the first dealer worldwide to go on the AX 2012 platform. So when we saw the capabilities, when we saw what it could do, how it could enhance our business, for us, it just solidified that was the right decision to make.
Very good. So were there, at that point in time, were there any discussions as far as M365 and or collaboration platform? Of course, Skype was just kind of sort of coming into the picture. Link was fading away. Were there any discussions at that point in time for you guys to take that route versus other collaboration platforms? And I want to throw in Cisco in the picture as well over here, because Cisco was that unified communication and telephony brand, and probably you guys were on it, right? Were there any conversations at that point in time? Okay, eventually it's all going to be integrated. Eventually it's going to be one unified platform.
Yeah. So absolutely, you're right. We are a Cisco contact center shop, so we understand the Cisco telephony platform. We actually, because of our ERP migration and implementation, our VAR and our partner was twofold. One headquartered in Hungary, as well as an extension or an arm in Florida. So we were already using Skype and Skype for Business to collaborate across platforms, across, to multiple countries, multiple parts of the United States of America. So for us, it was already a given. That was ingrained in our day-to-day. culture. Now, I'll say that within a fair group of people, within IT, maybe you would have a smaller group within the organization that saw the benefit of using that platform because we could collaborate that way. So as we continued down this road, we did evaluate what does Cisco bring and what were they looking at for the future and how are they going to align with our business needs. And we really felt Microsoft was a better fit for us as an organization overall.
Brilliant. So now you've fully vested into Microsoft.
Yes.
COVID is around the corner, right? I mean, the world is going to come to a screeching halt. Unfortunately, none of us knew that. When did you start your journey to look at Microsoft Teams being your platform of choice and bringing telephony and the entire UC experience underneath that?
So we actually started our journey back in 2016. We saw that the more that our business continued to grow, and if you look at our territory, right, we're spread out from Buffalo to Bangor. And with our headquarters in Massachusetts, you can go 8 hours in either direction. So we knew we needed to collaborate and work with each other in a new way, something that was much more efficient, much more effective. So Teams really became that platform for us to collaborate and communicate across the organization. And that was before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, we were already, as an entire organization, accustomed to talking to one another, working, collaborating through this Teams platform. So when the pandemic did hit, quite frankly, we were able to take 650 of our employees, send them home, right, during that time where people needed to be not in an office space. And within 24 to 48 hours, we were still working and doing business. That was the power. That's when we said, we've got something here. We need to see how we can continue to take this further.
So what was the next step in the journey? So, I mean, I remember you mentioning that you worked with Gartner and or put an RFP out there. Could you expand on that journey? And at that, what point of time and how did we engage and that process that we went through?
Sure. So I would say, probably back in 2022, we were starting to come back in the office, right? Teams was, maybe we would say we were hybrid, where we'd have some team members that were fully remote, some people that were hybrid, some people 100% on site because of our business, we can't have 100% of our people remote. But what we started looking at is, okay, we were on our current telephony platform, which is Cisco. And every time we go through an upgrade, it's a 4 to 5 year cycle, 9 to 12 month project. And we were kind of coming up on that time in which Cisco's saying, hey, you know what, our license model is changing. Really, we've got to get, our version was end of life. We really need to start looking at what is their platform going to provide. That's when we said, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity because Microsoft is so ingrained in our organization to rethink, is this the platform we want to leverage going forward? Or do we want to stay on maybe a legacy platform, let's just say? We are a Gartner client, so we went to Gartner and we started talking about the journey. And so our advice, or the advice they gave us, was to start the RFP process, right? We went through and we vetted out for probably about 6 to 7 months with Gartner what that RFP document would look like, how we wanted to go forward, what were those critical things for us. I'll tell you the two main critical components for us: Teams, because everybody in the organization uses it. They already know it. We just wanted to add that call button to make their life easier. And then the other critical element was integration with CRM. That is because we have a very heavy deployment within our sales and service organization using, today it's CE, but the CE platform. So as we were going down this journey, I think we were several months in and Gartner came and said, hey, we've got somebody we need you to look at. And they referenced Anywhere 365. So Anywhere 365 actually came in quite late in our RFP process. We were quite close to going from approximately 10 down to 2 contestants, and then they came in.
So we were the 11th contestant.
You were the 11th contestant at the 11th hour. So, and quite literally, you guys came in at the 11th hour. So what we started to see as we were getting really down to, say, those true last few vendors that we were working with, Remember, I told you the two primary things, Microsoft Teams and CE or CRM integrations. When it came down to it, your platform was quite unique with Anywhere 365 as a partner. And we saw that out of the box, truly, it was already integrated with Teams. There was not any configuration we had to change, as well as CE. Other vendors, some of the ones that I'm sure a lot of folks have heard of said, oh, yep, we do it 100% absolutely. And we started getting into those real technical details. What we were finding is it actually had to be built out. So we said, okay, that's not where we wanted to be. And then that's when we came in with both SCB and Anywhere 365 and realized it actually truly is inherently built in. And you guys are partnered with Microsoft in such a way to make it a valuable product to us, not only on the contact center space, UCaaS, CCaaS, but our big picture long-term strategy of integrating that with Dynamics platforms.
Brilliant. So yeah, Alex and JP, I mean, this is your time to share your story, being the 11th person, 11th hour, and then sharing that value proposition and bringing forth a solution that's workable for the client. Could you guys, at a high level, share your experience? I mean, how did you guys come across this opportunity, and what was that journey like to, come from the bottom to the top?
Yeah, so the Milton Cat team, called in after Gartner said, "Hey, you should check these guys out," and so they called in from our website phone number, and I was fortunate enough to pick up that phone call, and we just started discussing their needs right away. I think we scheduled a meeting like that afternoon, and went through some initial what are your needs, what are your requirements, what are you trying to achieve, and what they were trying to achieve resonated so closely with the Anywhere 365 story, about meeting a customer where they are, allowing an organization to connect with customers any way that the agent needs to, no matter where they're located. But we did see a gap that they didn't have a voice provider picked out, and so that's when I said, in my opinion, one of the best voice providers globally, and our preferred partner in the United States and the Americas is SCB Global. I would like to introduce you to them. It really stands out among direct routing providers, the solution that they have. So that's when I called up my buddy JP and that I want you to be a part of this. I think we can really create a total package that's going to meet and check all the boxes that Milton Cat has.
Yeah, and just to tag along to that, I mean, that call that I received from Alex, I picked it up right away. It turned out as Alex was saying, I mean, Milton Cat turned out to be a fantastic customer for us, not only because they were already ingrained in Microsoft and O365, and it was part of their operations so far, but on top of that, we still continuously work with Milton Cat to understand what their use case is. We got the opportunity to go there in person, got to see what the interactions are like with customers, what are their struggles, what are their pain points, what kind of resolutions can we build to address those pain points to drive more sales or to decrease costs. And so we have those touch points, and actually we're going to head there again, I think early next year in 2025. So it's a continuous cycle. We're not just offering them a product and saying, hey, we live in teams, everything else is on you to figure out. No, where it's a continuous symbiotic relationship where we're understanding their business and where the pain points are and meeting them where it's going to help them the most. So it was a fantastic relationship, and we continuously do sprints with them. And so it's just been wonderful to see how our platform has evolved with them and how their needs evolve over time as well.
Brilliant. So I think the key takeaway is answer the call, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be next to your phone. I answer my team's call right away, Nabil.
Yeah, brilliant. All right. So Sarah, you and I had the opportunity of actually briefly meeting at Enterprise Connect. And at that point in time, I believe you met Bob, Alex, JP. I mean, how has your experience been with working with the team and engagement that you've had with us thus far?
It's been wonderful. I will say I'm probably spending a lot of time with these guys, making sure and advocating on behalf of my business to bring these guys here. So we met you folks down at Enterprise Connect. I think that was back in 2003. That was really when we were close to our decision.
2023.
Sorry, 2023. So 2023, and that's really when we were in that final stages of you and one other vendor. So what I would say is that conversation, sitting down with JP, Alex, Bob, Shams, that's what, to me, solidified my decision to move forward with you folks. So since then, it's been very much a collaborative effort. What you're going to see is that we're very accountable within the Milton Cat organization, meaning we're very involved. We really want people to understand our business. So JP and Alex have been fantastic to really come here and see what we mean by we're not a traditional call center. I want them to understand our business and our business challenges, because that's, to me, what a successful business partnership is.
So where do you think that connection point was? I mean, that's always, exciting for me to hear those experiences, because anybody can say, oh yeah, we've got it, or we can do this, right? And being an end user myself for a decade, a part of the challenge always was like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you, sunshine and rainbows. But by the time we get involved in the project, everything is a mod. Everything has got to be modified, and it's not the same experience. And it's hail and thunderstorms, right? Could you share your experience at that journey? And I mean, just that belief, right? So being that underdog, being the 11th person at the 11th hour, how was that experience, or what made you decide to move into that direction? Was it people? Was it support? Was it them just answering their phone calls? What was it?
So I would say it was the people, really, because essentially, yeah, you're right. Alex, JP, they answered the phone, but here's the important part. They most importantly listened, right? They really took the time to spend with us to review our call flows, understand our challenge of, hey, we are not a traditional call center. And they were willing to listen. They were willing to sit down, understand our existing business model with a heavy contact center, right? We've been on the contact center platform for well over 15 years. So I would say we're well established in that. There are certain things that we may or may not be willing to give on, right? But they listened, they understood. And then when we hit a snag or something where we would say, geez, the platform's not going to work. How do we get around this? They came in with creative solutions. That, to me, is, again, where some value is. Let's get creative. I can tell you how we do it today, but I'm not going to have the best practice, industry experience that you guys have. That's where I leverage these guys. Come to me. Tell me what's better. Give us a different idea how to do things. That's where there's value.
Yeah, and as Sarah talked about, we work together still on a regular basis. So not even through the sales cycle itself. The sales cycle's over and it's in its project. But I'll still meet with Sarah and we'll discuss some of the Power BI metrics and what's happening to certain calls, and if we see some trends, and how maybe the IBR can resolve. Can we tweak the IBR in a way that resolves some of the things that we see within Power BI about callers coming in? And I think as Milton epitomizes an obsession over satisfying the customer, and I really enjoy digging into those use cases and say, well, how can we make that experience better? What are things that we could tweak that continue to improve that customer experience? And I love the collaboration between organizations to ensure that for their customers.
JP, would you want to add anything from your commercial and project management, delivery, support?
Sure. I concur with everything that's been said, but as Alex said, it's a continuous evolution of the platform that is specifically tailored to Milton Cat's use case, and the value of the in-person visits that we have gotten have been invaluable, because we get to see what their day-to-day looks like, what their users struggle with, and how we can address those problems to, again, either increase revenue or decrease operations costs. And so I think that over and over, it's more, and Sarah alluded to this, more listening than it is just saying, okay, we do teams. We want to know, and this helps with other cat dealers that we might be talking with too. How is your business doing? How can we address those needs? And the good thing is that most of these cat dealers, including Milton Cat, they're already using O365. They're entrenched into that software. Where can we meet you? We don't want to just give you cloud calling and say, oh, it's done. You got rid of your old PBX. No, what can we do to make this a holistic platform that will address your concerns for the next decade, if not more? So,
brilliant, Sarah. So one of the questions now I have, I'm going to put you on the stage over here for a second. we understand the business case. We've got a solution, not a lot of modifications that are required. The commercials teams are there to help support and continue on these conversations. Now it gets handed off to a project management delivery team, right? And I understand Alex and JP have done a phenomenal job in dissipating that message downstream and making sure that we've got the right set of resources and tools available for the deployment. This team now gets engaged with you and your team. How was that experience, and what were some of the highlights?
So our very first implementation, I'm going to call it a store. A store is a physical building. Our very first store was actually brand new construction. We were moving out of an existing facility into a brand new facility. So what I would say is that the project team was great. It was a little interesting and challenging because not only were we trying to migrate what I would call as an existing site, but we were doing that simultaneously with opening up in a new physical space. So it was kind of hectic to begin with for our very first implementation, but we got through it, and it's been kind of a wild ride since then.
So the project management team, I don't remember exactly who the project manager was from our end on it, but how did they perform? I mean, were they on top of it? I mean, it sounds like that we threw every curveball possible out there with new construction and moves and migration and, like, let's go build from scratch.
Right. So what we did was we built it from scratch. It was a little tight, right? We were definitely up against some timelines between getting the build and test on the SCB and Anywhere 365 platform while we were trying to figure out a go live plan and a go live date. It was a little tight right up at the beginning, but it did work out. We really did take the time to have Ace actually is our project manager. She's phenomenal. So a shout out to her. But she was also having to bear with us while we were going through these construction timelines, while trying to test, while trying to open up a facility. So it was pretty interesting. Definitely something that I think we learned a lot of lessons from our very first one. I think what we're doing is on both sides, both on the SCB and Anywhere 365 side, as well as the Milton Cat side. I always look at these as opportunities to continually improve our business processes. And I think we've definitely got a nice templated format now.
Brilliant.
What I wanted to say too is that when I mentioned earlier when it was a symbiotic relationship, it truly is that way, because as much as we're learning about the Milton Cat facilities and how they operate, it's also them learning how to use their new Teams platform, which is their entire UCAS, CCAS platform now, whereas they're coming from a legacy on-prem solution, and we're trying to teach them the art of the possible. So really trying to be that consultancy arm to say, hey, here's what's possible, and how will this address your concerns, which again, your issues that you're having in your day-to-day. And maybe they're not concerns, but maybe how can we make the better, the best, that type of thing too.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think one of the things that we talk about internally and in our partnerships with A365 as well is the idea of mutuality, right? I mean, we have to understand the business case, and we've got to be able to be totally transparent and figure out where there might be challenges and come up with a solution together. So that makes this partnerships just like really amazing. Alex, do you want to add anything on your experience, integration, support, so on and so forth with the whole partnership here?
Yeah. So obviously, love the partnership with Milton Cat. I want to point out one thing that they did that was completely unrelated to SCB or Anywhere 365 that I just think was outstanding was the communication that they went through to their organization about the change that was coming. So they explained to them that they would be losing their desk phones, which a lot of people can freak out about. You take away something off their desk and they or some employees can lose it. But they went ahead and created a really, really well done video to communicate, hey, this is what's coming. You're not going to have your desk phone anymore. You're going to use Microsoft Teams as your phone system. I think it's outstanding in the way that they communicated with their employees to know about the upcoming improvements.
Yeah, I mean, projects like this are relatively complicated, not just from a technology perspective or the integration thereof. The complexity is people and people's buy-in. So kudos to you, Sarah, and your team. Question on the change management piece. Was that done internally, externally, and or what kind of resources do you guys use?
Yeah, that's definitely done internally. I'm going to come back to one of the very beginning statements. We talked about digital transformation. Milton Cat has been on a digital transformation platform for many, many years. And so what we see is that change management, communication, those are all critical components to any large technology rollout. And you're right, this is a complex environment. It's a complex rollout. So that is done internally. That is done with quite a team of people behind me. It's going to go anywhere from training, resources to documentation. We put together, as Alex mentioned, a video. We have a very strong communication platform with our executive team, regional managers, all the way down to local managers, and resources on site that we deploy for every go live. So that change management is critical to the success of this whole project.
Very good. So what are some of the key successes at Milton Cat, including SD-WAN, Teams, Microsoft, call quality dashboards, any of the Windows updates, the Dell Command Center updates, change management, communication, and rollout strategies? Can you list a couple of items that we can share with our broader audience?
Sure. So I would say SD-WAN for me is one that probably comes most top to mind, right? Back in several years ago, we had an older business model where you would have a circuit for a PRI, right, which would be your telco circuit, a data circuit, and then an internet circuit. Really, that's not going to be conducive to a modern platform. Let's think about it from SIP-based trunking, et cetera. So SD-WAN was number one. I would say a backbone to making this a success because we want continuity of business. So SD-WAN with 2 dedicated last mile internet circuits, first and foremost, is going to be paramount. Then we need to think about it down to the end user level. What I mean by that is, what do they have for hardware, right? We think about it in terms of, it's Teams and Teams Phone. Well, now you need to look at your laptops, your cameras, your speaker phones, your headsets. Well, those things all work okay, but here's the key. Windows updates. We're a Dell shop from a laptop perspective. If you're not keeping your hardware, well cared, well fed, up to date, then these things can cause problems. What we did not want to happen was for people to say, Teams doesn't work, right? The phone system, we're concerned about these things. So we really attacked this everywhere from the back-end network infrastructure by putting in SD-WAN, of course, the change management piece, but also considering it down to that end user level. What do they need? Are they on the newest and latest and greatest platforms for, Windows 11? Do they have all those updates? Speaker phones, cameras, et cetera. Those are all critical components that have to mesh together so that when we get these questions about, Teams didn't work or something, didn't seem quite right, now I can start getting into more of the data analytics to say, all right, if I look at my Teams CQI dashboard, how are we doing? If somebody calls in with a complaint, I can dial in now to say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry you're having an issue. You're right. What I see, though, is you're out at a coffee shop. You're using somebody else's, maybe MiFi hotspot, and it's not working super well. And you're using some older hardware. So let's make sure that you're in a good spot. You have, decent network connectivity, those types of things. So we're now troubleshooting to a level when people may say, hey, this wasn't quite working the way I thought. We now can pinpoint and identify very quickly. And it's not really the platform. It's something that might be outside of our control.
Yeah, I think you make a great point out there. As data becomes more normalized to what we do day to day, right? And you guys particularly play in the mission critical and life support environments, there's going to be more and more compliance and regulations pushed down our throats. So it's good to hear that you are prepping yourself for what's to come ahead with all the reporting and patch management, so on and so forth. Looking ahead, what are the top 3 priorities for your organization over the next 3 to 5 years? And
Sure.
How do you plan to achieve them?
Sure. So I'm going to talk about it twofold. One is going to be the Teams Phone implementation. We're going to continue rolling that out through the Milton Cat platform. That is slated to go through mid-25. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to be bringing in Milton Rents, which is our rental stores, into that fold. And that's going to kick off right as soon as we're done with all the Milton Cat facilities. But why is that so important? That's because our strategic objectives within the organization are continue to grow our footprint. And what we mean by growing our footprint is we're going to continue to add Milton Cat and Milton Rent stores throughout our territory. Some of those may be co-locations, but it's to continue to enhance the platforms, the cat rental store, Milton Cat rental store portals, as well as technology integration. So we're going to want to roll out Dynamic CE through both sides of our business, Milton Cat and Milton Rents. And then we're going to want to get into having all of that information logged with Anywhere 365 and SCB Global directly into our CE platform, as well as a migration to an ERP in the cloud, which is also going to be the Microsoft Dynamics F&O platform. So within the next 3 to 5 years, those are our goals. Pretty hefty. We've got a lot of work to do, but looking forward to it. It's an exciting time.
Brilliant. Outside, I guess all of us are going to be busy for a while.
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, thank you all for sharing your valuable insights and experiences. It's been fascinating, and I'm sure our listeners have gained a lot from it. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you guys like to share on any of the upcoming projects and or just any fun stuff that's coming ahead? So let's start with you, JP.
Oh, wow. So, well, and then Sarah kind of alluded to it, but right now the strategy is go, go, go. Let's get the whole organization in teams, because right now we're actually operating in a hybrid environment between their former Cisco environment and their Teams environment to make sure that calls are always answered and that customers are always routed to the right place. But to avoid doing that for long term, let's get everybody migrated to Teams. Let's get everybody trained so that they're familiar. From there, okay, let's really dive in to understand your business use case. And she alluded to it, the CE platform. We're going to hook into certain applications to be able to send automatic text messages to customers to say, hey, your park's done, or hey, your rental is expired, and so on and so forth. So again, driving that efficiency. And so right now, go, 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 get everybody on Teams. Secondary to that, let's tailor the platform to Milton Cat specifically.
Alex.
Yeah, same thing. I think, initially for Milton, it's let's replace what they have with Cisco. But I think I'm really excited for when we look at how do we enhance the experience for the agents, for the customers, further integrating their Dynamics CRM, adding different omni-channel aspects so that customers can be met where they want to. And providing just that exceptional customer service that Milton provides to the customers.
And I have one last thing to add, and that is going to be to see JP and Alex, who are both in southern warm states, come to Massachusetts in the wintertime. That's going to be fun.
Nothing more than I like ice in December, so we'll be there,
That's
Sarah.
It.
Yeah. You're going to bring JP back to his Ohio days.
There you go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you once again to our incredible guests and listeners tuning in. Stay connected with us for more insightful episodes of the SCB Global Team Me Up podcast. Until next time, stay innovative and keep pushing the boundaries. Thank you very much. This is your host, Nabil Mahmood. Checking out.
Join the revolution. Find out more at scb-global.com. This was the Team Me Up podcast.